Welcome to Triangle BNI. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. If you need help getting a presence in the digital world, please go to oakcitytech.com. They can not only design the website for you, but they can handle your social media, your email marketing campaigns, anything you need to do to grow your business in the digital world. Go to oakcitytech.com. Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Each week, we bring you a small business success story from Triangle BNI. If you are not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Our little slice of heaven here in the Triangle is the Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill area. Almost 40 chapters and nearly 600 members each week get together, and the only thing we love doing is helping each other grow our businesses. And our small business success story today is Michelle Owens with Grayter Business Solutions. Michelle, how are you today?
I'm good, Mike. How are you doing?
Doing well. Now, there are many titles you own in the business world, but for those of us in the triangle, know you as the Hat Lady.
Yes.
You have numerous hats during numerous virtual events that I've been on with you. How did that start?
Well, it started about 8 years ago because as a small business person who is in multiple different networking groups and I fill lots of different roles, I wear a lot of hats. And so I figured that I might as well make that a little fun. So we have a lot of different hats in my office.
The one you debuted the other day, at least for me, was the trucker hat. I thought that was a nice touch.
Well, my daddy was a truck driver, so for many years. So that seems like it's very appropriate. I didn't need to wear my Biltmore hat or my big floppy sun hat. I could definitely debut that trucker hat.
Now, when you are out shopping or browsing or traveling, does something hit your eye and you say, "Ooh, I could use that one day"?
Absolutely. Something that is eye-catching and that's going to be memorable. So anytime someone substitutes for me at BNI, the first thing I tell them is you have to find a hat.
And the other day, it may have been 2 weeks ago, somebody actually said on a call, "Oh, that's Michelle. I didn't recognize you. You didn't have a hat
Yes.
on."
So I had to turn around real quick and get a hat. So at least I could be recognized by all the people that were on that meeting.
And you are well prepared because behind you usually, I know you're not home right now, but behind you usually is a plethora of choices.
For sure. And I have a Harry Potter wand that I made from a crepe myrtle stick and a Harry Potter cape. I've got all sorts of different props around me at all times because also one of the many hats that I wear is also the lead trainer for our team. And so, what better way to train people than by adding a little bit of humor into it? And so, when they come across the situation that we're talking about during training and they remember a hat or a funny little accent that I use, it definitely helps them retain the information.
Now, Michelle's chapter is RDO6. It's called Profits in the Park. They meet Tuesday mornings at 9 a.m. In pre-COVID, you would meet at Hope Community Church in Morrisville.
That's
During
correct.
COVID, we're still on Zoom, and I would expect we're going to be on Zoom for a long time. But if you have Tuesday mornings open at 9 a.m., it's a wonderful, fun group. We've had a couple people from the chapter on already, and it's a very entertaining group, but more importantly, they bring the business. Now, let's get into, now this show's only an hour, Michelle, so I don't know if we can cover every title that you have in the business world. But Michelle works for Grayter Business Solutions, and it's Grayter, and it's based out of Colorado, Michelle, but I'm going to let you tell people how the name of the company came about.
Well, it's interesting because the first question I always get from people is, don't you know how to spell greater? Didn't you guys graduate college? And actually, yes, we do know how to spell greater. But greater, Grayter, came from our president and CEO, Teresa Engel. She said with her older son, Grayson, and her younger son, Carter, with them in her life, it made her life greater. For those who don't know Teresa Engel, she is a little powerhouse and just awesome all around person. I wear hats. She wears leopard print. Just how it comes together. Um, but her younger son, Carter, has cerebral palsy and is in a wheelchair. And she owns two businesses. She wears lots of different hats or shoes, in case, Teresa, you're listening. Um, but I can tell you that Grayter Business Solutions means more than just what we do. The people that we have working for us, it is honestly like a family. And so I love that even the name came from a family focus.
The number of services you offer to businesses, and this is around the country, there's virtual assistants you provide, there's sales appointment settings you provide, you have a call center. Do
Yes,
you love being involved in all of that and being able to share with potential clients what you can bring to the table for
absolutely. So I can tell you with 100% certainty that I get bored very easily.
them?
And so I like to have the diversity. And because every day is going to be different. You never know what each day is going to bring, but I can tell you that one of the things that we bring to the table is encouragement, support, motivation to our team. And so I absolutely love being able to wear all those different hats because I don't get bored.
I always enjoy asking small business owners, what pivots or switches or additions have you guys made since COVID? Probably since about the middle of March.
So I can tell you that Greater is a different company in its own right. We are 100% virtual. So there was no real pivot for us. Everybody that works for us works remotely. We do not have a bricks and mortar facility, which means we can keep our overhead down and make our services affordable to all business owners that need our services. So for us, really just making sure everyone knew that we were here, having that exposure and understanding what support and services were provided for them from somebody who can work East Coast to West Coast. So it's not something that they need to really worry about.
What kind of new questions have you been getting since March from businesses?
You know, it's interesting because a lot of businesses want to know what the base level is that they can get in with because everyone is tightening their belt, so to speak. Um, some of the new questions that I've been getting are, can you do appointment setting and social media support, or appointment setting and live chat? Can you have an outbound call campaign as well as answering my calls as they're coming in? And the short answer is yes, because we can customize our packages that we offer business owners, regardless of whether they're small, medium-sized businesses, or even a franchise, based on the needs of that individual company. So interestingly enough, they're not asking about my hats or my baking skills, which I'm known for making cobblers as well. And I have gotten clients from making cobblers. But they are really trying to customize their service offerings. And where they may have needed 40 hours a week coverage, now they need 10 hours a week coverage. Can you help with that? And the answer is absolutely yes. We can definitely do that.
People watching and listening are going to hear, wow, national company, they're all over the place. They probably only help mega sized companies. What's your smallest client,
My
employee
smallest
wise?
client is a one woman sales team. And she said, I do not like making appointments. Now, as a salesperson, you need to make those appointments, but she's busy creating and doing other things, providing her service, and she has a lot of anxiety about making those initial calls to book those appointments, right? So we signed her up to help her with appointment setting, and it has reduced that anxiety. And she's walking into appointments now where she can just focus on selling, and she doesn't have to sell them on meeting with her. We've already taken care of that for her. So our smallest client is one client um, that we typically make outbound calls for them. Um, that are about 300, it's about 300 minutes a month, 300 to 400 minutes a month.
That is one of the most necessary, hated jobs of owning a small business is cold calling and knocking on doors, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the interesting thing is I was having a conversation Friday with someone that met me through a networking event, and they're in insurance. And she said, I hate calling these people because I love what I do, but the one part of my job that I hate, I need to devote more time to. And I said, can I offer you a solution? And she said, please. I said, I have someone on my team that used to be an insurance agent, and she only does outbound calls for us, and she's amazing at it. And she's exceeding our clients' expectations. Would you like her to do that for you? And so we have a follow-up call this week to talk more about that. It is one of those things that you're spot on. It's one of the 20%. If you can walk away at the end of the day and say, I enjoy 80% of my job, that is a win. But it's that 20% that people need help with, and they don't know where to get the help. So that's where Grayter comes in.
Yeah, I didn't particularly care for cold calling, not because they're going to tell me no. It's not cold calling. When they say no, it's not personal. As I tell people, I'm a husband and a father and now a grandfather. I've been told no by people that love me, so I got over that quick. It's just I was walking in salesy, and you just don't have a
Yes.
chance to develop a relationship.
You know how I develop relationships, Mike?
Do tell.
I bring cobblers. I ask them, your most important question of the day is whether you want peach, blackberry, or cherry. And I say, what are you talking about? I'm going to bring you a cobbler. What is that? Which one do you prefer? And I sit down and I bring a fork, no plates. I bring a fork and say, here are several different cobblers. You can make up your mind. You tell me which one you want. And while they're eating, I'm talking. And so I am all peach cobbler and sweet tea. And that works for me.
But that is a technique to develop the relationship, which was going to be my next question. Can we get 2 tips? So let me rephrase that question to say, for those of us who can't cook, what could we bring in? Or how do you get past that crap, another salesperson just walked in my door?
I want to make sure that I leave them with something, whether it's a full stomach or something that they can have on their desk that they remember me by. Many times it may be a cobbler, half-eaten cobbler because they've just devoured half of it and now they don't need lunch. But if you don't bake, my recommendation would be bring them something that they're not going to get from other people. What I would do if I didn't bake is I would bring them a magic wand, no magic in it, but it's a crepe myrtle stick that I whittled down and painted from my backyard. And I would leave that with them. And if they say, well, what is that about? You are so kooky. No, no, no. I want you to close your eyes and hold that wand. And if you could outsource 2 tasks that you hate doing, what would those 2 tasks be? Because now I'm getting them to a point where they are identifying services that they need our assistance with. And we can talk about those pain points and how to get them to overcome that. Now, I don't want everybody going and chopping down trees, trying to whittle down a wand, but that's what I would do if I did not bake. And every time they saw that wand, they're going to think of me. So that's what I would do.
We are here with Michelle Owens with Grayter Business Solutions and RDO6 Profits in the Park. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. If you'll go to oakcitytech.com, I know they'll be able to help you grow your business. They've helped me grow mine. So please go to their website, let them know what you're looking for. Tell Drago that we said hi. Now, I like your analogy of if you could change, because I work with our clients all the time. is when you can get their world in their head, their answer changes.
Absolutely. And Mike, let me ask you this. You consult with people all the time. You help them move the needle forward, right? If you were sitting down with someone, the number one thing typically I find is the most difficult with people is having them identify a pain point, because as soon as they sit down with someone that's a coach or a potential strategic partner, not a vendor, because there's a difference, you're sitting down with someone, they're afraid to open up and be vulnerable and identify those things because they know it's going to cost them a little bit of money to get that solution, right? Another thing that makes Grayter stand out from other people is that our contracts are 90-day contracts. So you try the service out for 90 days, and 90 days is a good benchmark, right? So that's one of the questions that I get asked a lot recently is I've got this project and I just need help with, because they've identified their wand. What are those pain points? And what better way to do that? You know, you're not signing a 60-day or like a 6-month contract or a 1-year contract. But if you close your eyes and you use that wand, what are those 2 things you would want to outsource? 9 times out of 10, it's cold calling.
Yes,
So,
that would be correct. And the clients that we work with on issues, especially early on, we all hate admitting things. We know what we don't do well, and some of us are reluctant to ask for that. But once we establish what it is they don't like doing, and then we get to the
mhm.
why they don't do it, and then they kind of get that off their chest, and then we can start addressing it, boy, things speed up fast.
Yes. And I will tell you, I may be the hat lady and I fill people's stomachs up with cobbler, but I don't let grass grow under my feet. Because if you do, it gives people too much time to pause and talk themselves out of getting that solution in place.
Yeah, there's an art to getting people, and I call this the wife move with all compliments to this, is to get the person to think it was their idea of, oh yeah, we need to hire you right now. Much like the wife with the husband, Becky's real good at getting me to think, oh man, look at that. I just came up with the idea to clean the gutters yesterday.
Yes. And thank you so much. And here's a cobbler.
Yeah. I'm one of the, while cobblers are good, I think my grandmother, when I was young, got me hooked on mincemeat pie.
Oh, I make those.
And I love it. It's my favorite of all time. What it took me a while to realize is very few other people like that. So when my mom or my wife makes one for Thanksgiving or Christmas, nobody else eats it. So I get it all to myself. So I'm good with that.
Hey, there you
But
go.
yeah, that was some vanilla ice cream. I am good to go. Right. So along with your business titles, Michelle, not only are you a wife and a mother,
Yes.
but you are now a homeschool teacher, principal, and lunch lady. How's it going with the kids at home?
Well, I will tell you something that not many people know about me, but I used to be a high school marketing teacher. And I have had time as a lunch lady pre-COVID. I will say the best tip that has helped me is bring that Instapot out and in the mornings make mac and cheese in the Instapot and have it ready to go. I made some this morning for my kids, so all they have to do is open up the top and put some pepperoni on it, and now they've got lunch. And it's sitting there waiting for them. Being the principal is a little bit trickier because I feel like every family who has a kid at home in front of a screen should have also, when you picked up your kid's Chromebook at their designated school, they should have also given them the blue light glasses. That's a missed opportunity. And anybody out there who sells blue light glasses that you can imprint on the side company logo, that is a missed opportunity right there. because those poor kids get off of the computer having spent so much of their day on there. They get off and they have a headache. And so then, if you have an ADD kid like I do, it's hard to pry that device out of their hands. But I had to buy them some blue light glasses in order to help. That one little thing has made this principal, lunch lady, and teacher's life so much easier because they're not as crabby because their head's not hurting.
Now,
So,
kudos to you and Greg and all the working parents with kids at home. My boys are grown and gone, so it's just me and Becky. So kudos to you doing that. How are your kids able to stay in touch with their friends through all this?
well, both kids are completely different, which is the case with most families that have two or have more than one kid. One kid is happy go lucky and she's like, hey, can I go see my bestie a few houses down and go play Barbies? She's 11. Absolutely. Go have fun. The other one is so anxiety ridden now because she doesn't necessarily care about the rules in our house rules. But she does care about everyone making sure that they are 6 feet away from her when she goes to a restaurant or to a store. So we're working with her just to get out of the house. Right now, her social interaction is predominantly through her computer because they tend to do FaceTimes and different things, video calls. But it's really not. She's not doing as well as the 11-year-old. And so we're really focused on trying to get her out. And they do church on Wednesday nights doing social distancing. That right there has helped her significantly getting more engaged with the youth group.
Oh, good. And I know it's a struggle for everybody. And with multiple kids at home, yeah, my two are completely different. They both make me smile and cry generally, not at the same time, but having raised them, so I know that. My wife and I have had two boys, but I have mom, mother-in-law, wife, two sisters-in-law, and four nieces. I enjoy watching the mother-daughter dynamics, but you got them with two girls.
Yes. You are correct with that. I have two girls. Thank goodness I have taken this time to really make sure that we have mother-daughter time individually. And so both of them, I'm so proud of this, Mike. This is like a proud mama moment. And I don't mean to mama brag, but I am going to for a second. They do their own laundry and they can make their own lunch, even if lunch is not in an Instapot. But they are also learning to cook. And so we have different days where the 11-year-old will cook with me and then the 13-year-old will cook with me. So they have different specialties of things that they like, and we do bake-offs. So just like you have the baking shows, we will have them pour through cookbooks and you pick two different cookie recipes or brownie recipes, and we're going to have a bake-off. And they have to do it on their own. So that has been really fun.
Sounds like a potential fundraiser.
Maybe. You know, I'm all about my baking and I will wear an apron and a hat. I can't help myself.
Which of the two girls are more like you or more like Greg? How do they divide?
Ooh. Well, they're a good mixture of both. Hannah is she's the ham. She loves to have fun. And anytime you tell her there's some sort of element of danger coming up or make sure you do this, she says, oh, it'll be fine, just like her dad. Megan is a little bit more cautious, like myself, but she is also a hoot. She loves to sing and dance and just be goofy like her mama. So it is very interesting seeing the dynamic between the two.
Does Greg cook at all?
You know, that man wooed me when we were dating by his cooking. But as soon as he put a ring on my finger, the only thing he cooks now is chili, and it's a little hot for some chili.
Oh, that's a great move right there. That's a sales move right there, right?
It is, but I always joke with him that he married for my mama's chicken and dumplings
Yeah.
because when we got together, I could not cook. And over the last 18 years, I have definitely upped my culinary experience.
I always
So
like to ask the guests on the show, how did you and Greg meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
we do tell the story the same way. So prepare yourself, Mike. It's a good thing you're sitting down. So I was engaged to someone else, and we met at work. And um, that relationship was not going well. And I called off my engagement 4 months before I was supposed to get married. And Greg and I met at work, and he met me actually in front of my cousin's desk at Ericsson. And he will tell you exactly what I was wearing that day, and he is correct. And he began his wooing process. And now keep in mind, that's like City Mouse, Greg, meet Country Mouse, Michelle. And he was the only guy I had ever met that owned a car as his primary vehicle. I used to be around country people, so I thought all guys drove trucks. So I thought immediately something was wrong with him because he drove a Honda Accord. But yes, so we met and met at work, worked for the same manager, and it's very interesting. Greg will tell you that I have the memory of an elephant because I can still tell you what projects he managed and, all of those details that went along with it. So that poor man is in trouble because I can recall lots of details that he tends to forget when we have an argument.
Do you recall what he was wearing that day?
I do. He was wearing a golf shirt. And at the time, he had not had my mama's chicken and dumplings. And so he had not filled out the shirt as much as he would have years later. But his shirt hung a specific way between his shoulder blades, and that's what got me.
Nice.
That's what got me. I'm a sucker for a golf shirt.
Well, and we could get our friend Becky to put logos all over the new ones you want to buy him, right?
Absolutely.
Where was the first date?
The first date was at a steakhouse called New London Steakhouse in Lynchburg, Virginia.
And when did you know, I think this is the guy?
Oh,
In the golf shirt with the shoulders?
maybe. Maybe. I went down probably about 6 months after we started dating, went down to Reynolds Plantation, which if there are any golfers listening, you know what Reynolds Plantation is. That's where my in-laws lived. And they still live. And so when he took me down there to meet them, and Mike, I'm country girl. We pulled up at that gated community, which I had never been to a gated community before, out in the middle of nowhere, Georgia, or so I thought. And he said, we're going to meet my parents at the clubhouse for happy hour. And I said, happy hour? What the heck is a happy hour? I had never been to a happy hour before. And we walked in there, and there were all of these executives that had retired from Days Inn, Chick-fil-A, all these big companies and other companies that I didn't know about. And I walk in there, and I was a fish out of water. And he said, he was used to it. He just walked in there like he owned the place. And he said, would you like something to drink? And I said, yes, a gin and tonic, please. I'm going to need a gin and tonic to get through this. After that weekend, I knew that I had to just let my hair down because there was a high probability that I would never meet these people again. Little did I know. And when we came back from that weekend, it was just nice. I really knew that they were good good people, and I could kind of see where he came from. Now, granted, in his house that he lived in Lynchburg, Virginia, he still had painters tape up around the ceiling in his little 1,200 square foot house that he had been in for 5 years, and he still hadn't painted his ceiling. So I feel like it was kind of like a bait and switch, you know?
At least, did he have brown furniture and brown everything, bachelor brown as we called it?
Oh no, his friends that got divorced, he got all of their furniture that they won in their divorce. So I was like, I don't even know. This looks like a frat house. So, but hey, he was a diamond in the rough, and so was I.
Well, at least going back to the clubhouse, at least you asked for gin and tonic and not moonshine, but they might have had that there too, right?
I think they could have accommodated.
I'm sensing in that place. Well, we are here with Michelle Owens with Grayter Business Solutions. If you need help with virtual assistants and sales, calling, and anything that's going to help your company grow, whether you're one person or 1,000 person, please let them know. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. You can go to oakcitytech.com and start the growth of your company in the digital world. They can not only design the website for you, which they've done for me, they can get you going with an email content. They can do SEO. They can do social media, which they've done with me, and content. It's a crowded world out there in the digital world, folks, and it's very noisy. So you want somebody like Oak City Tech to help you get through that. So please go to oakcitytech.com. All right. So you mentioned, Michelle, you and Greg met at your cousin's desk.
Yes.
All right. So when I have guests on, I love doing research, and it's the goofy things that catch my eye. So I'm on your Facebook page. You have a
Uh-oh.
ton of cousins.
I do.
How big's your family? Man, it was like mom, dad, and then 31 cousins, it felt like.
We're country people, Mike, and we were farmers. You needed help on the farm.
Yeah.
So Greg's family is very small. My family is big, and I've got more cousins than I can count. So we have first cousins, you have second cousins, and then you have the third cousins, right? And so it's interesting when we all get together, which we tend to do a couple of, once every 2 years, we all get together. And the first cousins, which are my mom and all of her cousins, they tend to congregate together. Then the second cousins, who are about my age, we all congregate together because we're in the same phase of life. And then all the little itty bitty third cousins, all of our kids, and all the second cousins' kids, they all congregate together. So one of the things that I love about my family is that that you have a lot of support in different places across the country. As my kids get older, if they wanted to go hang out at my cousin Linda's in Indiana for a week during the summer, Linda would be taking care of them the same way I would. If they want to spice things up a little bit and go hang out with my cousin Katie, she would take care of them. Or my party in a box cousin, Jane, she would make sure they had fun. So my kids have family that goes from coast to coast. And I love that. And that's one of the things that Greg, Greg he may have second cousins, but he doesn't have any first cousins. And so I feel bad for him because when we all get together, he says, I don't even know what to do. Case in point, Mike, we went to a cousin's house for a big family reunion. We get out of the car, and my husband looks at me and he grabs the kids. He's like, Michelle, look at all this dog dew on the ground. What's going on? And I said, that's a walnut before it's been hulled. It's okay. Pick one up, pick a few up, we'll take them home. It's that kind of dynamic where it's country mouse versus city mouse. So anytime he gets together with my family, it's very entertaining.
What was it like the first time he started just hanging around the group with your lingo and your style and your sense of humor? How did that go?
He couldn't understand them. He honestly couldn't. My Aunt Mary, we went to her house and she bakes. She and my mom are very much alike. Aunt Mary used to bake rolls and cinnamon rolls and pies, and she was well known for that. My mom's very much the same way. We went to go visit my Aunt Mary and her daughter Jane, and we left there and he said, I don't know one word that lady said. And he said, and your accent started coming out a lot worse than it is now. And when you get all of us together, you can't understand a lot of us if you can't talk fast and if you haven't tuned your ears into Southern country talk. So it is very interesting for him. He nods a lot.
Hmm. Yep. I came from a small family. My mom was an only child. My dad had one brother who had four sons, and that's it. On my wife's side, her mom's side of the family from Oklahoma is a decent size, but her dad's family from South Texas, his dad had a brother and sister, but more importantly, his mom had four sisters. And then they had, so we're talking the first time I met this group at a family reunion, I'm telling you, there were 90 people there.
Yes.
And you get so many in a family that size that even Becky had to ask who a couple of those people were because you just didn't see them that often. And then the scorecard was needed to remember who was with who. So when I did see them again, I at least had some working knowledge of who belongs to.
Well, it's interesting you say that because the last family reunion we went to was, I want to say it was in October of last year, October 2019, well before COVID. And one of my cousins came up to me and she said, Michelle, what are you doing? And I said, what are you talking about? She said, you've got a hickey here on your neck. Aren't you a little old for that? And I said, it's not a hickey. And she's like, Michelle, we've all been talking about it. We've seen it. It's a hickey. I said, no, it's a biopsy bruise. And all of a sudden, it went from, aren't you a little old for that to, oh my gosh, are you okay? And so it was very interesting just to see that mental shift in so many people. But hey, I did like the fact that they thought my husband had left a hickey on my neck. So, but we like to cut up and have fun.
And to answer the question, nothing wrong with the hickey.
Nothing wrong with the hickey.
Now, the other thing I found on your Facebook page is quite interesting. The way you have it listed that your high school, the actual town is called Charlotte Courthouse, Virginia.
Correct.
Wow. Now, hang on a sec. So let's play some Vegas over under numbers. I'm thinking the population is set at, I'm going to go about 742 and a half. And you got to bet over or under.
I think you are probably over.
But not by much.
Not by much.
And there isn't, but there is now a stoplight.
I don't think so.
Wow.
I don't think so. I think in Charlotte County, there may be a stoplight in Keysville, but that's for the whole county.
Then here's one of my favorite questions to ask a country mouse. How old were you when you first drove a vehicle anywhere?
Oh, I drove. Well, okay. Here's a funny story. You told me funny stories were welcome, so here you go. I partially drove it. So my grandma, my nanny, as I called her, my mom's mom, her car was not working for some reason, and we needed to get to church because good Southern girls got to get to church, and you have to get there for Sunday school. So her car wasn't working for some reason, so we jumped in my papa's truck, and it was a manual. She couldn't drive a manual, so I said, "Oh, I've seen my parents driving their manual cars. I'll just tell you when to push your foot on that pedal right there called the clutch, and I'll change gears for you." So we did that. And I was probably about 13, because 13-year-olds think they know everything. And so we pulled into that. I don't know how we made it to church, but we pulled in to that church. That truck was just bucking forward and backwards. And we finally pulled in sideways into a spot. And I said, do you want to straighten it out? And she said, my nerves are shot. Let's just leave it here. So that was about 13, and I partially drove that manual truck.
Now, you had me at grandma stories because there's nothing better in this world than grandma stories. They're
Hmm.
all good, and there's a life lesson to be learned from all.
Well, and I will tell you, Mike, my nanny always told me, she said, don't do anything that you would be ashamed of me walking in and seeing you doing or hearing you say. And that has stuck with me for my entire life because I never wanted to disappoint that woman.
Nice. That's why those stories are so good. Because I just envision the country mouse driving everywhere in a pickup truck, and everybody knows each other. So the cop or the law enforcement, whoever's there, just is like, Michelle, just slow down, head home. Because
Oh,
the
yeah.
last thing because in those towns, you would rather deal with the police than your parents or your nanny, right?
Oh, let me tell you right now. I I knew that I could never skip school because everybody and their brother knew my daddy. And I was speeding one time on my way to Lynchburg, and my aunt was my insurance agent. And I didn't know that she was right next to me. And I'm driving along, driving to work, and I look, and there she is, and she did this. And I looked down and slowed down and just let her go by. So you are absolutely spot on. You never know when you're going to run into family or somebody who knows your family. And at my bachelorette party, I went to this little cowboy dive, and there was a club called Catalani's, and my bridesmaids had a black marker, and I had a white shirt on, and they said, "It's my last night as a free woman. Sign my shirt and buy me a drink." And I went up to a few people that I knew, right? And I was like, "Hey, sign my shirt." And they said, "Absolutely not. I know your daddy, and I'm not signing that shirt."
That in a small town, you have all the help you ever need. If something were to go wrong, you'd have the whole town there for you, not a problem. The downside is they know when you've done so.
But think about that for a second, Mike.
Yep.
All of those experiences have helped me get to where I am. And it helps you get over hesitation of talking to people and being able to wrap things together and just learn how to be relational. And I'm forever indebted to everybody who had a part in my upbringing.
And those are wonderful stories because that's what makes us is all those stories coming together. We are here with Michelle Owens of Grayter Business Solutions. Today's show is brought to you by Oak City Tech. Folks, I'm telling you, in the digital world, you need somebody that can speak for you. So go to oakcitytech.com and they will help you get your message out. Michelle, you talked about relationships, and that's what BNI is all about. What was it once you joined your BNI chapter that told you, okay, this is where I need to be because this is how I'm wired?
I will be very honest to say that I was hesitant to join a BNI group for ages and ages and ages because I had heard all these horror stories. And let me be very clear, those horror stories are probably coming from people who've never been in a BNI group.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the president of a women in networking group, and I walked away from that because I really needed to focus on B2B opportunities. I was blown away, and am still blown away by the connections that I've made through BNI, blown away by the warmth and sincerity and authenticity of everybody that I've met, even outside of my group. And I have referral partners now that I meet with every 2 weeks, and we go through our Rolodex. It's very strategic, very focused. And we go through our Rolodex and say, here's somebody that I've met with recently in the last 2 weeks that I want to introduce you to. Here's somebody that, I've seen you connected to on LinkedIn. I'd love to have an introduction. And so we strategically do that, and we're building business from that. And I have had so many more opportunities since I have joined BNI for larger clients or clients that I never would have been able to be introduced to because we weren't in the same circles. So I am in awe of that. And you basically join BNI and you have all these walking billboards for you, and you become the walking billboard for all these people. And I love the giver's gain. I love that because anybody who knows me knows I'm a walking billboard. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
You know that personally. And so it's nice to be with like-minded people who get along really well, that are well connected, but we're all there for the right reasons. And that is imperative.
I had Christy Cook on last week and we were laughing, and actually you fall into this category as well, because we're going to have what I'm calling my COVID friends, because you and I, like me and Christy, face to face have never met. We
Correct.
only know each other virtually. And you have referred me of somebody that we start with her on Friday. So yes, you are giver's gain. What I love about BNI, which is not for everybody, but the people that get it, um, they're going to succeed in their business
Yes.
because they want to give. And this show started because of a BNI relationship. Amnon's our producer. Amnon's waving to everybody. You can't see him, but he's waving to everybody. A friend of mine, Jim Bowdish with Edward Jones, I said, Jim, this is 3 years ago. I said, Jim, I want to start this talk show interviewing BNI people because everybody's got a great story. I just enjoy asking questions, but I can't do any of the technical stuff. And Jim says, go call Amnon or go see Amnon. I called Amnon and here we are today. So I love the BNI part about it. And I'm glad you have found some success in that, because it is, you've got every Tuesday, you're meeting your sales team, basically.
And one of the things that Mary Stock told me,
My girl.
I just adore her. And I was on the phone with her and I said, wait a minute, aren't you the lady that I met at this other BNI that was just starting up? And she said, yes, I am. I said, well, first, I love your haircut because it looks good. But secondly, when we sat down and she said, who can I refer you to? Who is your ideal person right now to meet? And I'm glad that I got to ask her the question before. But something that everybody needs to be able to do is be very specific. Don't just say, oh, I can work with anybody. Who do you want an introduction to? Who are you currently looking for? What introductions in a specific company or a specific industry are you looking for? Be very focused and specific. Because if you are in any industry and you just go, oh, well, I'm looking for, it's hard to give those recommendations then.
Yeah, it's like you telling me I'm looking for businesses with 20 or more employees. I'm like, what do you want me to do? Knock on every door? And
Yes.
I do BNI training. I tell our clients, it's not correct for you to ask for anybody, because if 500 people show up on your doorstep tomorrow morning, you couldn't service them. So
No.
let's get more specific. I just want left-handed golfers. Now I've got a picture. Now I'm looking for left-handed golfers. But if you say, oh, I need anybody in golf that does whatever, I'm like, I'm not going to stop everybody and ask them to play. But now I'm on the lookout for left-handed golfers. Boom, I can help you.
Yes, absolutely. But be specific, because when you're specific, then they know exactly who, somebody will come to mind for them.
Yep. So speaking of terrific, let's get back to your husband, Greg.
Yes, he's awesome.
Notice I didn't use specific. I went with terrific because I could see the love on your face when you talk about him. So according to his Facebook page, he is trilingual.
That's a lie.
Okay. He's written Slovenian and Spanish on there.
That is a bold-faced lie. So I speak more Slovenian than him. He speaks a little bit, but not as much as me, because he traveled there quite a bit. He can read it and understand it, but the same thing, it shouldn't be Spanish. It should say Portuguese, because does it Spanish?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
if I remember right, yes.
Oh, I'll have to get that corrected.
Yep.
So his dad was an executive for a company called Timken. And so they flew them all over. He flew his dad all over the country, all over the world. and they ended up moving to Brazil for 5 years. And
Mhm.
so he spent 5 years there. Well, he and his family, they didn't just ship him off. Um, and he and his sister had to take English courses upon returning to the States because they spoke Portuguese better than they spoke English. And so he can still understand it, but if you ask him to say anything beyond muito bem, which is very, very good, instead of muy bien, or lixo for the trash, he can't speak it, but he can understand it.
Well, I guess the better question is, how does a girl from Charlotte Courthouse, Virginia know Slovenian?
We were supposed to reload there for 3 years when our oldest daughter was about 4. And so I started learning Slovenian through this software called Utah. And so we went there for a week on the house hunting trip. Well, the week before, they had pulled the relo out from under us, but we had non-refundable tickets. So we went to Slovenia. So when we got there, um, his friends that worked in the Slovenian office all wanted to entertain us and all wanted to take us out. And so when we got there, um, they would say, "Oh, Greg said that you're learning Slovenian." And I said, "Yes, yes, I am." He said, "What can you say?" And so I started telling them what I knew. And they said, "Oh my gosh, that you have a Slovenian accent." And I said, "Well, I don't think I have Slovenian heritage, but I've been using this software." And they said, "Well, that software is amazing." So I would love to be able to relocate to Slovenia because it is absolutely gorgeous.
I was going to say, would that have been a pretty good place for the girls to spend a couple of years?
Oh, it would have been idyllic. I mean, it's a completely different culture and they work to live, they don't live to work.
You find that in a lot of European countries.
Yes, I would have loved to have had 3 years there.
So here's another fun fact I found out about you is what is your connection to the Triangle Italians?
Oh, so back in the day, I told you that my husband and I met at Ericsson.
Mhm.
Well, when we were laid off, he took his severance package and bought a Ferrari. And so when we moved here, he wanted to get together with other owners. And so he created Triangle Italians. And so they would get together for like cars and coffee once a month. And yeah, so everybody, all the cops and everybody know us in Apex as the Ferrari 308 house. And so cops would even pull up in front of the house and say, "I just want to look at it," or "Can I go for a ride?" And I said, "No, you can't go for a ride because you'll get a ticket."
Does he
So
still have that car?
we sold it in December.
Oh, that must have hurt.
It was the Magnum PI car. It was
Oh,
awesome,
Michelle.
but we had had it for like 17 to 18 years. And I told him, "If you want a Ferrari, you better get it before we get married." And that's the best advice I ever told that man. And so he followed it.
You made him sell a Ferrari? Oh,
I did not.
no.
That was his decision.
Uh,
Everybody thinks it was me. I've driven it a couple of times, but driving a Ferrari is a little different. But he's an inch shorter than I am, so without heels on, so he fit in the car perfectly. Because Italians typically are a little shorter than the average mountain person from Virginia. So he was able to drive it comfortably, but not this Southern mama.
I like now that you can tell people you're too tall to own a Ferrari.
You know, Tom Selleck in Magnum PI, there was only one episode where he actually had the target top on,
Mhm.
but he had to take the car seat and bolt it to the bottom of the car. He had to take the sliding rails out, and his head still popped out. So, yeah, I'm a
Nice.
little too tall for that car.
Is that what got you to become an F1 fan?
You know, every couple needs to be able to have something that they connect with so they stay together. And I'm not a big golfer. I make golfers look good. But I figured if he likes Formula One and it's going to be on our TV during the race season every other weekend, I might as well pay attention. So I love Formula One now.
Have you been to Austin, Texas for the American
No,
event? All right.
I want to go so bad.
When does Greg have a significant birthday coming up in the next 2 years?
He does. Oh, does he? Maybe.
There you go. That's the present right there. Don't tell him, but just book it.
I may have to.
Yep. My brother-in-law goes every year, and it's the pageantry and everything. The race is nice.
Oh, yeah.
But it's basically Europe comes to Austin, Texas.
Well,
Yep.
Has your brother gone to the Daytona 24-hour?
Oh, yes. And I used to work there. So, yeah, we're both very
My husband did too.
big fans of the Rolex 24. Yes.
My husband does too. He goes there every year. He used to work there. One of his best friends is one of the starters up there. And he met Patrick Dempsey down there. He's met Emerson Fittipaldi, Rubens Barrichello, Juan Pablo Montoya. We call Emerson Fittipaldi lamb chops because he's got those big sideburns. And he used to live in the neighborhood that backed up to Emerson Fittipaldi's house. So when he met Emerson Fittipaldi, he's like, hey, Mo, I used to live in the same neighborhood. But it's that kind of environment. Europe comes to Daytona. And it was funny when Patrick Dempsey was there, Greg worked on his team and changed his brake rotors and stuff. So we met him again several years later at Virginia International Raceway in Milton, Virginia. And so I went up there, and all of these people, Mike, were in line to get Patrick Dempsey's signature, his autograph. Well, I wasn't in that line. I went into Joe Foster's line, who was his racing team member. And he said, well, may I help you? And I said, I'd love to have your autograph. And Dempsey was there with this long 200 women standing in line for that man. Yeah. And I said, Mr. Foster, and Dempsey was listening. I said, could I get a picture between you and Dempsey? Because I've been looking forward to having my Foster Dempsey photo sandwich for a while. And Joe Foster said, oh, well, that's sweet of you. And Dempsey said, come on over here. And I got a picture with both of them. It's on my Facebook page. And those 200 women hated me, but he saw my husband and he said, I know you. And I said, he changed your brake rotors in Daytona 2 years ago. And he went, yes. So in my mind, we're best friends.
Oh, you're like family now. It's another cousin for you can tag on Facebook.
Absolutely. If I show up with Dempsey at my cousin's reunion.
Oh, yeah. Nobody could top that for years. Yeah.
Nobody. So anytime I want to stick a little smile on a friend's face, I post that on Facebook.
Folks, if you need any kind of help in your business, especially with setting sales appointments, anything like that, please go to grayterbusiness.com. That's GRAYTER. You can find Michelle pretty much anywhere. You can find her through the website, find her on LinkedIn, Facebook. Please do that. Michelle, it has been a blast. I love grandma and country stories.
Well, I'm your girl.
Very happy to have you on today. We had a blast, and we'll see everybody next time on Triangle BNI.
Thank you, Mike.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by Telestream's Wirecast software, StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and DeltaForce.net.